Paddle, Nick, paddle, 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 paddle. Push it, push it, push it, push it, push it. Paddle, paddle. Pop up. Very good. Back down. Paddle, Nick, paddle, paddle, paddle. Get it, get it, get it, get it. Pop up. Good. All right, back down. So what you can see here is we're going from a lying prone position, pulling our hips up and going into a standing, kind of a quadruped position, because we don't want to stand up on the glide board, of course, because we can get a little bit dangerous. But we're looking for the action of the hips, and there you can see that we're going to go into a hip flexion and her pelvis rotated to get one foot in front of the other. So we've got our scrunch board up here to work on the second series of exercises for Gravity this season surfing. So we'll start off with a scrunch. The scrunch, we've got the scrunch accessory on. It fits on the GTS or the Total Gym. And what we're doing is just the flexion component. So we're working in one plane of motion, get the hips, the abdominals warmed up, and she could even go into a little more posterior tilt as she flexes up. So really squeeze the abs up. There you go. So a nice shortening, and then she gets a beautiful lengthening as she extends out of the hip and the abdominals. So that would be a nice sagittal plane variation. Then what we can do is go up into a toe variation. So still in the sagittal plane, but there's a tweak with regards to the intensity. Now we've got a longer lever, and that's going to be an intensity tweak. What I'm going to have her do is go back down to the knees, and know that we're watching these guys out here on the water right now, and I'm not a big surfer. I tried it 10 times. I'm from Ohio. It didn't work out. So what I looked for is how fast are the knees coming up? Are they actually exploding up? Some of these guys are so relaxed out there that they almost do kind of a creep up. So depending on the length of the board, probably, the wave, and all those different variables. So instead of always working slow or fast, we'll do both. So we might do a couple fast to mimic someone who really pops up. So she does a couple fast, really loads eccentrically, pops up concentrically, and then maybe just some super slow. Not that you'd probably be in trouble if you went that slow on a surfboard, but you're rounding out your training program. Okay. Then the next variation would go up to the toes and work those speed tweaks. But what we're going to do is go into those rotational tweaks. So she's going to pivot her legs. If you're looking straight down, her legs are about 30 degrees off, just the shin or the tibia along the glide board. That way what we're going to do is load the left obliques, the right obliques as well, the internals and externals. Just by having that little bit of tweak with the pelvis, it's going to mimic a little bit more of what's happening as you pop up and pop that leg forward. So again, we can start in the kneeling. I'm not sure, we'll try it on the toes. We'll see how that works out. The long lever, that's what we're here to do, is experiment stuff. Excellent. All right, so that's a kind of a tweak variation of the scrunch. We'll take a break now. What you can do is take that scrunch down onto the bottom. If somebody needs more assistance with the scrunch, you would take the scrunch, place it on the bottom, and use gravity to assist that. It would be more of a hip move rather than, or a back hip than a front hip. Now we've done a lot of shortening of the hip muscles and abdominals, so we like to round this out with some lengthening exercises. I love using the squat stand down below to kind of brace the hands, get that knee on there and drive the knee back. In the sagittal plane, you get that real nice line lengthened, and then we can add arm drivers. So we add an arm driver in the sagittal plane, in the frontal plane, and in the transverse plane. So she can go in each direction of those, so you've got 6 different variations. All of those movements are gonna, the humerus is going to pull the scapula, scapula is attached to the rib cage pulls the trunk, and the trunk is then pulling the pelvis. And the pelvis is what we're trying to kind of tweak here. So a lot of variations with those stretches, and nice to do after a scrunch to kind of round it out. All right, next is we're going to work on that second phase. So she's popped up her knees. Now we're going to go into what's called a drop squat. So I'm going to tighten my plyo support knob, make sure that we're all stable here. Big crosswinds coming across. We don't want to mess anything up, but we'll start off with a couple light weights and we'll build up. The difference between this squat and a regular squat, and this is tough to get if you're just regular squatting or even doing plyometrics all the time, the drop squat is going to mimic the whole concept of popping up and landing in a flexed position. So you're at a biomechanical disadvantage by having, these 90-degree angles. But you get a little more cushion in the water, and we've got a lot of instability with the surfboard. So this is very stable. We'll start off with that. So what she's going to do, and you see the tendency is to be that she's going to pop up a little bit. The driver is the knee, so I'm going to try to get her to focus in on just pulling the knees up and landing in that flexed position. Perfect. Good. It might take your client a few times to get this, and variations Or we can land in different positions. You're not going to land right in a neutral position each time. You want to have a right foot forward, a left foot forward, depending on if you're goofy footed, but round it out. That way you get all those muscles that connect into the hips and the pelvic floor and all those beautiful fun muscles to be able to be fired and excited about this as well. So we've got all these different drop squats. Throw in heavier weights. She got lucky today because we've only got those 5-pounders. We might drop the 15 on her. And also use other tools. Use Airex pads, Bosu balls, any balance boards, whatever, to mimic getting that floor, the thing that you're landing on, to be unstable, because this is not a surfboard. The surfboard's in the water. It's unstable. You want to create all those environments to mimic the surf. So we'll see you next time on Gravity This Season.